Sanchez here. Hope you're doing well. Amar and Jose here at Sales for Life. We're super excited to be with you today. I lead customer success here at Sales for Life. And Jose, you want to do a quick intro?
Yes, so my name is Jose Sanchez, and I lead go-to-market efforts here at Sales for Life. I'm excited to join this first session of Digital Growth Conference on day 3.
Awesome. So listen, you're joining right now. You're in the world of sales, maybe sales leadership, maybe even marketing, and you're wondering why this session is about salespeople and content. And there's a reason for it. So stay tuned. I'm going to basically shut off my camera for a bit. I want to go into some visuals and some slideware to show you some quick points, and then we'll have a quick discussion at the end. So have your questions ready, think about what you want to ask, and let's rock and roll and get started, okay? So here we go. I'm going to shut off my webcam right now, and I am going to share my screen. And here we go. So this is all about creating and delivering insights that shape the buyer's journey. Sounds fancy, right? Think of it this way. Why should salespeople share content? The why and the how. Maybe that should have been the alternate title to this. So let's get started. We already introduced ourselves. Of course, we look prettier in our pictures than we do in real life. And here's the agenda. I've broke it down into 3 simple things. Why are you here? What's the benefit of sharing content? And should you write your own content or share other people's content? What I've done though is I'm going to go through this deck really fast because I want to save time for 2 important things. The first is a tactical example of how you can find content and how you can house it in one central place really quickly. All right. And secondly, I want to save time for questions. I want to interact with you. Send me what you're thinking. Your thoughts matter. I want to be able to answer whatever's on your mind. All right. So here we go. Why are we here and what's the reason? First and foremost, our goal as salespeople is, yes, it's to sell something. Yes, it's to generate pipeline. It's to generate revenue. I get all that. You're right. But you've got to get your buyers to make better educated decisions. If you can help them make a more educated decision on the purchase, you will win the deal. So content plays a very good part in this. It plays a part in the sales strategy. Think about it. If someone is looking to learn something, you can use content to open doors. If you're in an existing deal and you're wondering why the deal's gone stale, maybe why the customer is not responding, don't just send them an email or dial the phone and leave a voicemail that says, hey, what's up? What's the update? Nurture with content. You can educate your customers to buy more over time as well. So content serves a really cool purpose. One thing or the other, it's actually the whole spectrum of the pipeline. Think about that. It really can help you do all of it. Now here's some stats for you, and I think this is the reason why content is so important. I'm not going to read everything on the screen here, but you know, all the data is kind of leading towards becoming more digital or at least doing more research online. There's a bit of a controversial stat on the right-hand side from the CEB. You know, the stat is 57% of a buyer's journey, a B2B buyer's journey, is done online before they even reach out to sales. I don't know if this is 57%, guys, to tell you the truth. For one of your buyers, it could be 11.2%, and for another buyer, it could be 71.8%. I don't know. I think the 57%, whatever the number is, irrespective, think about it this way. Do you believe that your buyers are doing research online? Your industry, your company, you, the products, the services, business challenges. If you believe this is happening, then content is an incredible glue to get you to have that conversation. I think the title of this slide is pretty amazing, right? I hope you agree. Engaging with content wins deals. Check out the stat from Forrester on the right-hand side. 82% of buyers viewed at least 5 pieces of content from the winning vendor. Now, as a salesperson, yes, you can wait for your marketing team to serve up this content, to, you know, throw up ads on Facebook and LinkedIn or any blog or website that, you know, your buyer's on. But why wouldn't you want to do this as a salesperson too? Don't just wait for the buyer to read your message. Take the message to your buyer. That's what defines us as salespeople, right? Now, if you do this, if you do this, check out this stat, and I put this on a separate slide because it's super cool. But Corporate Visions has done the study that shows that approximately, we'll call it 75%, sounds nicer, approximately 74-75% of the time, buyers will choose the salesperson that's first to add value and insight. So instead of you just basically cold calling or reaching out by email, try to educate when you call, try to educate when you email. When you do that, when you serve up interesting information that educates, your chances of winning the deal skyrocket. If you're a betting person, these are odds that you should surely want to take. Now, I want to present this visual to you, okay? So far, I hope you agree that sharing content works. I mean, all the data says it does, so why wouldn't it, right? Think about it this way. What's the real opportunity for you? So here's a diagram from a Canadian company called Sticky Branding, but it's also by the Training Institute, Chet Holmes, right? So it's a pyramid that shows that the top 10% of this buyer demand gen curve, if you want to call it that, or the demand gen pyramid, at the top 10% are the ones that are active. This is where most salespeople are having conversations. You've got 3% that are ready to buy imminently, 7% that intend to change very quickly and buy a solution that you may sell. That's the top 10%. But think about the bottom 90. If this was an iceberg, you've got the tip of the iceberg, that's the 10%, but then you've got the 90% at the bottom. Now at the bottom, at the very bottom, you've got 30% that'll never be interested in your company. Don't even waste your time on them. Move on, sayonara, see you later, we're not focused on them. You're not gonna switch them, so why waste time? But you've got that middle stack, that juicy 60%. That is your long-term pipeline and deal flow. This is divided into those that have a need but aren't yet ready to act, and those who don't have a need right now, but they're open to change. Why wouldn't you want to serve up content to those people proactively? And by the way, I use the term content, but why not use the term education? Why not educate those buyers? And I'm going to get to a slide later that's going to show you don't have to educate using social media. I mean, print out an article and mail it if you need to. But at the end of the day, you have to educate. That's the key message. Here's another way to look at it. You know, this is that stat from CEB, right? The controversial one. Well, the long-term deal flow is in the first 57%. If you can get to the buyer as they're very, very early on, and by the way, if you have that challenger mindset, if you're into really provoking and prodding and getting your buyer to think about things that they're not currently doing or saying, by the way, if you do that, then hats off, you should be doing that. Then if you do that and you educate, you've got a 74% chance of winning the deal. So either way you slice the cake, you want to look at this vertically in the pyramid or horizontally, left, right timeline, you have an immense opportunity to serve content and education to win deals. That's why we should be sharing content. But some obvious and maybe some not so obvious benefits of this, right? First and foremost, as I said, content sharing can be done with a bunch of things and a bunch of different ways. The first is your social networks. Obviously, your Facebook, your LinkedIn, your Twitter, your Google+, etc. Also, you can do it one-on-one with prospects. You know, one of my colleagues, Jason, has a great story. When he goes to meet prospects or clients, he prints out white papers or ebooks and hand delivers it to them. He highlights the pages they should read. He puts those, he bends the pages at the top. I forget the term for that. I think it's called earmark the page. But whatever it takes to educate the buyer, you can do. This is not just new because it's social. Social just makes it faster and easier maybe. But this is about a mindset to educate the buyer. You can do it the old school way too. You can print stuff, put it in the mail, and check in with the client later and get their thoughts on it. So some benefits of sharing content. You can build your personal brand, right? When you start sharing content, people start to see you as an authority in the space. This doesn't need to happen right away. And keep that in mind. If that's your expectation, you'd be sorely mistaken. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time, right? So As you build your brand, think about what happens. You can scale up the entire approach, and as you walk into clients' offices, maybe 3 months from now, maybe 6 months from now, maybe 9 months from now, a year from now, you're their thought that you are an authority in what you do. Number two, it helps you gain trust. I think all of these are tied, by the way. As you share content, you have to be consistent with it. If you're sharing content on social media, unfortunately, it doesn't cut it that you share randomly on a Tuesday at 2:40 and then 2 weeks later on a Monday at 1. If you're going to share it Tuesdays at 2 o'clock, that's got to be your time. You've got to go and just share content every day or every Tuesday at 2 o'clock. If you write your own blog and you say, I'm going to publish it and release it Wednesdays at noon, every Wednesday at noon, because your buyers, the ones that you're connected to, expect that consistency from you. That consistency, along with brand building from that slide just before this, helps you gain trust rapidly. I'm going to turn it to Jose for this one, but this is about the buyer's journey, and Jose has some great insights for you on this.
Yes, Amar. So I think Amar's spot on in saying that it's about a mindset and about approaching buyers the way they want to be approached. So if we look at the slide on the screen right now, Amar, if you just say something, and I think Google Hangouts will get it that it's for you.
Yep.
Perfect. Can you show the slide?
Yeah, there you go.
Great. So if you look at that slide, the buyer's journey is basically divided into 3 separate stages. You can make it more granular or more general as you want, but in basic terms, it's about creating awareness, then consideration, and a decision around your product. And what you have to think about before you craft your content strategy for the buyer is what are my buyers thinking, needing, and asking themselves at the beginning of the journey. What are they thinking about in the middle of their journey and at the end of the journey? And it's about the content that you share, but it's also about the format. As Amara was saying, social networks can be really powerful because that's where buyers are today, but also other more traditional channels like email, even the phone is still very powerful in sharing insights. But you always have to ask yourself before you think about the content that you create, and the format that you choose, where is my buyer? That's a key insight here. And it's the only way you're going to make this scalable. Always looking back at the core of the problem and thinking about what buyers want to learn, what buyers need, what they're asking themselves at every stage of that journey.
Yeah, well said, Jose. Think about it this way. I'm just going to spin it a little bit differently and add some color to this, okay? When you're out there buying something yourself, forget that it's a hype piece of technology with a complex sales cycle of 18 months. Let's just keep it simple. Let's say you're going out and buying a television. You want to go to Best Buy. You want to buy the latest flat screen 4K TV from Sony or Samsung or whatever. How do you decide that you're going to need the TV? And then once you decide it, then what do? Then you decide on the brand. And once the brand is decided on, that's when you say, well, where would I buy it? Will you buy it at Best Buy? Will you buy it at whatever electronics store? So if you're a buyer today, and this is food for thought, consider this, approximately 70% of this entire journey is spent in the awareness stage, where the buyer, your buyer, is experiencing some symptoms, some problems that they don't even yet know can harm them in the long run if those problems continue. They might not even know that there's a solution out there. Why are we going into this amount of detail? It's really simple. When you find content to share, if 70% of your buyer's journey is in that awareness stage, how much awareness stage content do you think you should share? Right? I think it's a bit of a rhetorical question. It doesn't need to be 70%, but I think it needs to be, quote, the majority. Finding content, always try to find questions at the top of the funnel. So when you're in a face-to-face meeting or on the phone with a prospect on a cold call, or you've got an email appointment set up and then it turns into a face-to-face, Think about those initial first questions. If you're just educating, let's say you sell software, hypothetically, and you're trying to really sell them on the value of automating their sales data. They have sales data right now, but it's not, beautifully presented in a visual format and dashboards, etc. And your solution really helps achieve that. Well, know that they need those visuals. They don't know that they need the dashboards. What you've got to do is share insights and education that helps convince that prospect, convince that customer that they do have a need for this. And once they realize they have the need, now you start sending them content that your solution may be the best one. Once that's done, the very last stage where they're choosing vendors, that's when you power on your case studies and your testimonials. As you decide to, or as you design to come up with the perfect content mix, that's the way I would look at it. Lastly, and I think this is so easy, yet we miss it, sharing content starts conversations. When you share content on social media, especially, every like that you get, every comment, every mention, every share, every favorite, every retweet, opportunities to reach out to people, to say hello. Maybe you can say, hey, this is what I do. What do you do? Oh, if you can't help me right now, do you feel others in your network can? You can start to gain referral leads that way. But ultimately, you start to build a really powerful network, not just of potential customers, but hey, they could be even competitors, right? That you can start taking insights from. They could be supporters and advocates. They could be influencers, etc. From my personal perspective, when I started social selling the proper way, say about 4 years ago, 3.5, 4 years ago, it was amazing. Influencers started to reach out to me. Influencers, like the biggest thought leaders in our industry, would retweet my stuff. They would start sharing my content out with their audiences. By the way, it wasn't content that I wrote. It was content that I was sharing. So what propelled them to do that? And I think that is what the next section is going to explore. So the number one question when it comes to content sharing and salespeople, hands down, is to write or not to write. And I don't have a lot to say on this except this. The choice is yours. Do you need to write content to make impact? No, not really. But what you need to do is be consistent with sharing content. And when you do share content, you've got to provide your insights, your perspectives. A big pet peeve of mine, and I'm going to get Jose to chime in on this because I know Jose has a lot to add with this. But one of my biggest pet peeves is this. When I see people in my network just sharing content without making any comment at all, well, what do you want me to do with that? Look at this and just get excited by the headline? But what are your thoughts as you share that? Doesn't that matter? So I'm trying to help you, really convince you actually, that your voice matters. You have power in your voice. You have a gift to share. So when you share content, add your gift, i.e. your perspectives with it. Jose, what are your thoughts on this? Chime in, please.
Yeah, and I think something really important is to think strategically about it. Back to the mindset and the journey. Always provide a next step. When you share content, make sure you're always monitoring what's going on and you provide a next step within the content. Something that I also wanted to highlight is the importance that even though we're recommending that each and every salesperson becomes part of the buying journey and shares insights with their prospects, there's a role that marketing can play into this. And I understand that a lot of companies might not have the structures to enable their sales teams to share content created by marketing today. But it's important to start these conversations internally. And one way to do this is by already start sharing content. As a sales professional, encourage your team to share content, encourage your team to be buyer-centric, to think about the buyer and the value of content in sparking those conversations. And this will get probably the light bulb on for the marketing team to start enabling this process too when they see the impact that content has across that journey.
Hey guys, I've rewinded 2 slides because I just want to tail off from what Jose said. The most important slide in this deck in my opinion, my humble opinion, is this. If at the bare minimum you don't care about the buyer and educating them, etc., as salespeople, we're incented to at least have more conversations every day, right? Sharing content produces conversations. Any simple and even selfish reason that we as salespeople should share content, let this be it. All right? So let's fast forward here. I want to talk about what type of content you should share. You know, the easiest way is know your customers and what they're doing. Ask your customers what they're reading. Ask what they're needing as well. You know, sometimes customers, you can spot behaviors if you have LinkedIn Sales Navigator, or if you're following someone on Twitter, or you've got, you know, if you're generally just following the business of your client, you'll know what they're talking about. But sometimes you don't know. That's the key difference in opportunity generation, right? So don't be afraid. Pick up the phone. Call your existing clients. I actually did this just a little while ago, and I was shocked to find out. I thought I was serving my customers so well with my content, and then they go and tell me, well, Amar, we're actually starting to explore X, Y, and Z now. Allowed me to shift my focus because none of my competitors are doing that right now. And if you need any basic steps to start, customers, see who they're following online, and find similar sources. For instance, if you're selling to a VP of sales and they follow, you know, Grant Cardone, how about blogs from Jim Keenan, right? Just trying to mix the two together. If they're going to find Grant Cardone's insights insightful, then how about Jim Keenan's, right? This is the way you can start to differentiate and expose your clients to net new information. You can talk about content mix, but I'm going to leave this to Jose right now. Jose, do you want to tackle this one?
Yeah, so just back to my previous point, and I think it's the biggest takeaway you can get from this is the importance of sharing content, because it's the way people buy. When it comes to choosing the format and sourcing that content, there's a lot of resources out there. If you don't have the passion to write, or you're not ready to write, you don't feel comfortable enough, you don't think you know enough about your customers yet, to start sharing content. And just as the slide suggests, Google is a big partner on this. There's a lot of third-party insights that you can use to spark conversations with buyers. We do it at Sales for Life. We're constantly quoting research by Forrester, by Gartner, by Corporate Visions on the importance of incorporating social into the buying experience, because that's the way people buy. So don't be afraid to just use your existing resources and start using what's already out there.
Yeah, well said, Jose. Let's use this as a transition slide. You know, it says at the top, make Google your best friend. You know, a lot of salespeople have asked me over the years, Amar, I don't know what type of content to share. Well, there's a reason that the top rated content is in the position that it's in. There's a reason why it's called, quote, the top rated content. Why not we just share that? So with that, I want to go into a tactical example. I'm going to switch here. Let's go to our friend Google here, okay? Now, I have a really simple example, and unfortunately, you know, this is not a full-fledged hour-long, 2-hour-long webinar, but I want to show you how quickly you can do this. So I'm in Google right now. Everybody on the planet has access to this, all right? So with Google, watch what I do. Now imagine I'm selling software around the engineering world, okay? All I'm going to do, if I'm confused as to what content I should share, I'm going to type top engineering blogs. Look at that. And right at the top, you're going to see this link. It says 50 top engineering blogs. Someone else has already done the research to show us what type of blogs we should be reading. What are the top rated blogs? And of course, there's a few different opinions on this. You can check out a few other links, but I'm sure you're going to find a lot of similarity. Okay, so how about we actually take some of these blogs and put them into a place where we can log into every single day, so we don't have to go around to 5, 10, 15 different websites to find all of our content. What if there was a way, and what if there was a tool where you can basically aggregate or bring together all of your content that you're interested in. Well, that tool exists, and it's right here. It's called Feedly. Take a screenshot of this, write the URL down, but it's Feedly, Feedly.com. It's free. Yes, there's a paid version of this, which I don't even use because I think the free is good enough. But this is a fantastic tool. What you can do, look on the left-hand side. I've got a bunch of categories already set up. Now, I train for a living, you know, so some of these are dummy categories, but you'll get the gist of it. And if I want, I can search Feedly up here, or I can add outside content. So watch this. I'm going to press this Add Content button, click Sources, and right here it asks, what source do you want to follow? So let's just type the word, or for one of these blogs, engineering ethics was one of the blogs, and bam, it's right there, the engineering ethics blog. Now, as soon as it comes up, look, all I have to do is press follow, and then it asks me what category do you want to place it in, or I can create a new one right there. So let's call this engineering. Okay, so I'll call this engineering example, okay, and hit create, and look, it's right there. Let's find another blog. Okay, latest result for science and engineering ethics. Maybe that's another one, but they only publish one story a week. Maybe I'll just type the word engineering here and see what pops up, right? So ultimately, there's many different ways. If I want to pull in the entire engineering feed from Twitter, I can do that too. Now, some of the results are not the best, so my suggestion when using Feedly is do the research on Google, just like I showed you, the URL of the blog, all right, and plug that URL or the name of the blog in here, and that's it, you're done. Now, what I do, my go-to-market, every single day, I log into Feedly, and I'll just come in and check that category, and I'll see what's new. Is there anything here that I can at least have a conversation on? Like, I know this right here might seem a little bit off color or maybe not usual for business, but this is the type of stuff I like to share on social media because it gets conversations going. It allows you to connect with people. You know, think about it. If you sell to a CFO and you're connected to that CFO on LinkedIn and they hit like on what you're sharing, guess who they're connected to? Other CFOs. And those CFOs will start seeing your content. This is how you start to basically get your name out there and become viral. All right, so that's it for me. I'm going to turn this off. Let's go to webcam again, and let's start taking questions.
Yeah, Mars, I think we have two questions. The first one is, shouldn't marketing be owning the enablement of content?
Yes, they should, but the reality is most departments aren't. Just to be very frank with you, where most marketing teams are today, and I don't want to generalize, but just from my experience, teams today are still getting out of product marketing into a more educational form of marketing. There's very few that are doing pure educational marketing. So as a salesperson, you have to go out and dig your own content, and you've got to share it. The onus is on you. Don't just wait.
And just to compliment a lot of more, as I was saying earlier, this will get the conversation started internally. If sales teams start seeing the value of those insights in sparking new conversations and creating new opportunities, the marketing team should be able to understand the value of that and also help make a case for them to be more proactive in that, to scale the whole content play. And another question we have on a related note, what is the role of sales leaders in helping sales teams create buyer-centric content?
It's a great question. I think the answer to that question, I'd answer it like this. The nice to have scenario, the ideal situation should be that sales leaders are asking salespeople to make content sharing a part of their sales jobs. Are we there yet? I don't think so. So I would almost switch the question around to whoever asked that question. I would basically ask, what can I do to help my sales leader realize that content opens up new doors or nurtures deals? I would almost leave it there for now.
100% agreed. So I think that's it for now. This has been a great session. For those who are just at the beginning of the journey, just like Amar suggested, just start sharing content. You'll notice the value of sparking those insights and creating those conversations on social, via email, via the phone, wherever your buyer is.
Yeah, absolutely. Think about it this way. Your job is to educate. You can do it how you want. If you choose to do it by showing up at the prospect's office every day and giving them a white paper, if you choose to do it on LinkedIn and Twitter, do that. But whatever you're doing, be consistent. And selfishly, as a salesperson, I love sharing content on social because it sparks conversations. I'll leave you with. Thanks everyone for joining.
And one last thing, can you show the last slide? If anyone wants any resources on how to keep learning about this, you can go to salesforlife.com/resources. Lots of really useful materials to learn on the importance of content and how to execute content for salespeople, and ultimately, obviously, create pipeline and revenue from it.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone. Take care.